basically.
Yeah, housing board.
And that's the thing to tie up. And we don't want it to see it go into commercial 5 years later.
So affordable housing for Bowen-based workers.
Yeah.
The point based,
Yeah.
And I think potentially, I would be open to some sort of mix of some percentage of them being tied to wages, affordable, all that stuff, and maybe some percentage being free market, whatever he can get. Only in that, if it really is down to the financial viability of the project. Because if we say you have to make it for people who make $11 an hour and you can only charge $600 a month, and he says, I can't build it for that, then like you say, it doesn't happen. So I'd be open to some mix of basically free market rents and limited affordable rents.
And it's just 6, right? There's 6 total.
I think it's only 6 units, so
Yeah,
yeah, it's
so-
not a lot to
So
work
it's 6 and then
with.
it's like 6 to 12 units.
Right.
Oh,
He-
6
he has
buildings,
6 buildings with
12
one
to
or
12
two.
units. Okay, so that's actually more flexibility too.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
12 units go by the
Yeah.
unit number, yeah.
okay.
Do you want me to read it out? Do you guys want to vote on it? Give them a
Need
recommendation
a
for your report,
resolution,
or
Do we-
you're fine?
I mean, does the EC wants
Just
to make
comments.
a motion and a recommendation, then that's fine, or if you want to just provide comments at this point.
I
then-
think it just comments.
I think just comments
Yeah.
at this stage, yeah.
Have you got what you need?
I have a scheme, yeah, very helpful.
Cool, well, thanks. Thanks, David.
And I will be back with it.
I'll be
At
back.
some future date, yeah.
Okay.
Just one quick question.
Yeah.
Is the Bellringer project, is that also has some kind of affordable housing component in it?
It has changed throughout the process. So when it started the application, it was for rental housing, and so we were seeking restrictions that it be rental. And they've asked, they do not want it to be rental housing, and council in I think September agreed with their latest proposal that it not be restricted to be rental, and that it just have a clause that if they are to sell it, they would make a contribution to the sewer fund and to the medical clinic. And so and I think it's 3 of the units would be designated as affordable. And so if they are to be rented, they would have a maximum rental rate, and if they are to sell them, then they're supposed to sell them at below market rate.
Okay, so there are apartments that would be sold.
Yeah, that could be sold, yeah.
And those ones that are sold at below market rates, is there anything on them to keep them affordable?
It would be to keep them, it would be similar to the Volterra ones, that
Okay.
would go carried forward, yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Right, thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah.
Thank you. Give our thanks to them.
Okay, subcommittee reports, PRE.
Sorry, just to go back to that, it'd been, last couple meetings, I was hoping Glenn would be here to talk about his situation and to see what his approach is. Because I still have the problem with, on these jobs, you know, the server jobs and that they're $15, $20 an hour, how you control when that person leaves, because there's big turnover, and what the logistics of that.
I think that's the hard part.
Yeah, I agree.
And
It's
then
tough.
how you deal with it. So,
Yeah,
and even and tying that to Bowen jobs is going to make it even more difficult. I mean, could they be working in Horseshoe Bay and?
You know what I think it is? You just have to, at the time the person applies and signs the lease, they meet this criteria. Once you've signed a lease, you
Yeah.
signed a lease, right? Like you can't kick somebody out because their life
Right, that's what I
circumstances
think
change.
is
So I
you
think
just
that's what it
can't.
is. You're eligible to apply and get the place. After that, you don't have any control over it. That's my thoughts
Right,
on how
and
it
so if you
works.
have 2 units and those people don't leave, there goes the benefit of the.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
you
only
know,
6 months for a 12-month
let's be
lease.
clear, let's just be clear though,
Yeah.
Barry, is
Yeah.
that the only benefit to community is not if people are working minimum wage jobs in our community. So you could have people that are not working or, you know, end up becoming, they work for a couple of years in the pub, they lose their job there, they start a small business, or they become an artist, or, you know, and they may be massive contributors to our community in all kinds of other ways. So I think it's like the piece here is, for me, a little bit broader than just the staff housing too. It's really about the diversity in our community as well. And that's one of the reasons why having a range of options for affordability is there. And it, you know, it gives somebody 6 months, 8 months, a year, maybe to find another job, or create another job somewhere else. So I think that I want to just take it away a little bit from the idea that it's strictly a transactional thing, that it's really just down to employees and wages, and that people make other contributions in the community too. And that what this kind of housing does, even if it doesn't work out exactly the way we intended it to work out, is it actually builds our community fabric in
Yeah.
more resourceful ways. So.
Well, that's the bigger picture, I agree, but if they're tying an approval of this to affordable housing for workers, then you have to have some rules.
Yeah.
to
And they also have, well, the Tenancy
tie it.
Act is the rules, so I think there
Yeah.
are rights that tenants have as well, I think that's what you're saying.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
you're tying it to eligibility, but the enforcement is then under the Tenancy
But how
Act.
does it work in things like, in resorts like Whistler where, hotels provide accommodation?
I think,
Or for workers?
yeah, I think you have in logging camps, for example, mining camps, and in Whistler, you have different kind of ability. Whistler's a resort municipality, and I don't know if that affects what they're able to do or not. I'm not sure. But
Because I mean, if somebody is really serious about using it for workers, he's going to have to face that problem, right? So he wants to get rid of
Yeah.
somebody not living in the place. Can you get them out of the place?
Yeah, it's a good question, and that was something I kind of was getting at, is I think you can only, it's when they apply and when they sign the lease, are they eligible? After that, I would want it to be a formal lease under the Residential
So there's
Tenancy Act.
nothing, there's nothing he could do then?
No, as a landlord, he can't kick them out, he can't do anything, and as much as I feel for him as a landlord and an employer, like, that would be a disadvantage for him, for us as a community, I agree with what Chris was saying, like, having people being able to have stable, long-term rental housing at affordable rates is a huge benefit to the community. So, I don't know how you would,
Well,
If
landlords
you
have
feel-
rights, they do have rights.
They
And he would be able
absolutely
to
do.
exercise his rights under the tenancy
under the
agreement,
legislation, but he
right?
can't kick them out.
Yeah.
One of those reasons isn't because they don't work for him anymore,
No,
that's,
that should not be.
that
right.
shouldn't be one of the things, and I'm pretty sure then when the lease is up, he can't kick them out either, because, we'd have to see. There's these little loopholes, you can do fixed term leases and stuff now,
Right.
but, I think it would be something to be addressed.
So
and
if
see
you
what
were
they come up with.
Miguel in the new thing, and you want somebody to, he wants to provide staff housing for his manager, and then he hires somebody, and then they don't work out, he gets
Yeah.
rid of the manager, now he can't get another manager because he can't get the manager out of the, that
Yep.
seems unfair to him.
Well,
I agree, it kind of is.
there's provincial laws. I think, Rob, just to draw a line under
Yeah.
what you said, Robin, I think it's like you can manage everything up to the moment of occupation. So eligibility, application, like all of that kind of stuff can be enforced with a local bylaw amendment, like what's happening here. After that, there's a provincial law that's in place, and really, it's the Landlord Tenant Act, the Tenancy Act, Residential Tenancy Act.
Yeah.
And that's what governs the relationship, and I think
Even
that
when
that.
you own the building, but they're,
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would suspect that there are some mechanisms, like I think you're right in Whistler and at camps and all that stuff, where literally your housing is linked to your employment.
Yeah.
I think that exists. I
Yeah.
don't know under what legislation or under what agreements, but for sure it exists.
for example, at the Tunstall Bay Club, I think they have a little cottage there
Yeah.
where the
Yeah.
caretaker lives.
Well, and same I think
Tax
with
benefits.
the caretaker for GVRD, right?
Yeah.
Who, whatever his name was, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lived
But
there.
those are taxable job benefits, I think is.
So that's the thing, is it's okay, so then it's, I don't know, but yeah, maybe they're taxable job benefits or whatever it is. There is some way to link them, but I don't think that's what we would want to encourage. Well, personally, that's not what I would want to encourage. Because I think it really puts a person who's an employee in a very vulnerable position. So that if your home is linked to your work conditions, and if you, for whatever reason, and this is just in general, for whatever reasons you're no longer happy with your work conditions, but you're afraid to leave because you lose your housing, like that's just, I wouldn't want.
That's an interesting conundrum, because I think, Michael was,
Yeah.
delighted to get the place,
Yeah,
and then he had to get out.
yeah.
And it was not so delighted.
Well, no, exactly, I mean, so
But
it's.
for
it's-
seasonal workers, that could be.
I would think it'd be
fine.
very appropriate for seasonal workers.
Mhm.
Like, we all know we need more employees in the summer on this island, so like, I would be very
Mhm.
supportive of if somebody was building it specifically for summer
Yeah,
work.
so it kind of goes back to the mix,
Yeah.
proposing that he has, a mix
Yeah.
of requirements for,
Yeah.
or mixed types of tenancy agreements.
I'd be in favor of something like
Yeah.
that.
It'd be good to hear from him, actually. how he sees
Yeah,
it.
I would very much like it to be discussion. I wouldn't want it to just be us saying we have to do this.
Yeah, yeah. it has to
We
be-
need to hear his point of
yeah,
view as well.
Yeah.
So there's an industrial camps regulation law.
Oh.
Under the Public Health Act. Industrial camps regulation. It's not what we're doing here.
No.
There must be a staff housing law somewhere as well.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
it's-
Well, we're like GRD must have it or whatever. It just must be the part of your employment agreement or something,
Mm.
so. Yeah.
You know what we didn't discuss, and I would have liked to ask Daniel is,
I could bring it back down.
well, I just, maybe we could discuss it briefly first, and then, it is, so in the zoning map, it's not the identical zoning, but the Dallas Marina is also a similar zoning, I guess, because
Yeah.
it's got this same different letter designation at the end.
Yeah.
And then there was one other one. So, and are there others on the island, or are those the only 3 that are kind of similar? And then I mean, because let's put a possibility out there that the Dallas Marina changes hands, and a new developer with deep pockets comes in and wants to put in 30 float homes, or
Right.
whatever.
What precedent?
How does that compare? And would we welcome that? And anyway, so just.
Interesting.
Okay, all right, well, I think we've got 1 hour left, so let's
Yeah.
just move on with the rest of the agenda. Thanks everyone for those comments. Subcommittee reports, let's whip through these fairly
So January 23rd will be the business summit, and that's the thing we're working on.
okay, cool. Branding working group, Shane's not here, so I need to have a look at there and see what we need to have in a meeting. There's not a lot of energy going into that right now, frankly.
We did receive these updated community brand guidelines.
Okay.
Maureen sent those along.
What were the changes, do you know? Like,
They're probably like
Pages
briefings
47 to
pages.
Right,
70.
no, but
I guess that
were
would
they
be
design
helpful.
changes? Like, why was it updated, I guess is my question. Were
I
there
would be
changes in
more-
policies? Like,
Didn't it come online? Like, I haven't looked through it, but last time I understood we met, that it was just about to be published
oh,
on the
that's right, I
website.
guess it wasn't quite there, yeah. So anyway, I'm just curious if there were any, like, major policy changes or design changes, or why it was revised.
Okay, I will make a note to
Can you
ask.
pass this
Yeah.
one?
Because-
So they're in your digital thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so the question is, why were they changed?
Yeah,
Or
are there
what?
significant changes,
Right.
or, are they in reference to policy and use of the logo and other visual components, or is it, is it just like minor updates?
Just having, I think it's just fairly minor.
This is
Because
the final copy, that's what you're saying.
Maybe
right?
that's a final copy.
This is the
That's
final
case.
brand
So,
standards.
right, so right now, the way the brand standards work, as far as I understand, but I could be completely wrong, they are available for use from other organizations such as Tourism Bowen Island. So Tourism Bowen Island is using them to print T-shirts and sell those T-shirts. So is that through a fee for service through the municipality?
A license.
A license, okay. So those
That would
licenses.
be part of that
Right.
process.
And so licenses available to any organization, do you know, or?
As far as I know.
All right, so there's an application process or something like that, at a fee, yeah. Okay.
Would you like to have that license on the next agenda?
No, no. I just wondered what kind of policy was in place to, in terms of guidelines around the use of that logo. That was my reason for asking.
Okay.
This also includes tourism, Rhode Island, Monks, and
Right.
We use it as an example.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Business licensing, I met with Maureen this morning, I don't know if you want to add anything, Rob, but she said
Yeah,
that
go ahead.
she would be proposing something at the next meeting to go to council. Is that your understanding of that?
Yeah, I think so. Like, well, we've met a couple times over the summer, and we did talk more about Mary, you definitely jump in because you made lots of calls.
Well, we did some calls to other municipalities, 4 or 5, and to see what they were doing, issues, more on the ground, sort of what's actually happening out there. And so, which was very interesting, quite similar, but different municipalities put more energy into enforcing business licensing than others, and some saw it as a growth opportunity. They all found that it contributed to either bylaws, like it was usually combined with bylaws, so it helped pay for a bylaws person. There was very little matching of fees to expenses. It was lumped in. Some had intentions of doing it, so which would go back to our, revenue neutral idea that it doesn't seem to be applied in other areas. But again, different levels of involvement about what was going on in the community, but underlying was it provided information about who was operating what, and the safety of the community was being looked at, and so very interesting. So I'm sure that will come out in the report, but it gave you a good idea of what they're actually doing out there, and I think once it becomes part of the agenda, it's an integral part of it. The main thing that in terms of benefit for a business was a lot of the municipalities have the business listed on their websites, or there's access to, so it made it easy for citizens to find a business, and that the businesses found that was a positive form of advertisement. And so anyway, some interesting feedback, but it definitely leans on doing it rather than not. It provided some benefits out of it that
And it also gets connected to the Airbnb issue.
the Airbnb, like places like Ucluelet, where sorry, it's a while ago, I think it was over half of their licenses are Airbnbs, or maybe 60%. And they collect additional resort fee, which goes back into advertising for the area. Is how it works, but
That's interesting. So are they a resort municipality?
They are.
Like,
yes,
Yeah.
right, and Ucluelet as well, but yeah. So there were some other benefits to it.
Could I ask a question? The not achieving revenue neutral or whatever it is, do you think that was purposeful or just simply because the accounting was too hard? That's what I'm thinking. It's just too hard to track all the little bits.
A little of both. It was a
Okay.
little of, again, the bylaw person is, the license person is,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
time. I think their systems, accounting systems, weren't set up for that. And as much as it was an important contributor to lowering expenses or towards the cost of staff, it wasn't a huge factor to change their systems for, is the feeling
It's
I
not
got
that it's
generally.
I think it's not that it's to the penny revenue neutral in that
Yeah,
sense,
no,
it's
it's
just that
the
it helps to fund it.
And I think it's
Yeah.
kind of fudged a lot, because
But-
people say,
Yeah.
well, we need somebody to administer it, therefore we're gonna add more expenses, so it's still
Yeah.
revenue neutral, but it's actually funded.
There'd be no
Right.
problem to make it revenue
Yeah,
neutral.
yeah, it's
Okay.
easy.
Yeah, but so they didn't, if, like Ucluelet had, if they did a fire inspection, and they did fire inspections on every business license,
Fantastic.
they did an inspection of every building, then the B&B or whatever the business paid a fee for that inspection as well, mandatory, so.
I think that's a great idea, because that would go a long way for like safety, like just
Yeah.
making sure that, although it, on the other hand, it may deter people from registering and getting a business license, but.
Some of the
It's
fees
good.
are quite significant, like $850 for your Airbnb license. that kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
So Shannon was looking at one, I don't know if she spoke to Hope, the girl in Ucluelet used to work in Hope. And I guess Hope is, they have tattoo parlors, well, I guess we have a tattoo parlor, they have massage parlors, and Ucluelet had an application for a massage parlor in their town, and so they're trying to decide whether to allow it or not. But I guess, again, they have to have health approvals, and Hope is quite hard on all this, so I haven't seen Shannon's report yet, but I'm interested to see it.
This is different from the Bowen Island Wellness Centre.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking, okay.
Well, you know, actually
Who are we to
something,
judge?
something that's been on my mind too, and I don't know whether it's for us, but just as a, by the way, like marijuana, and whether
Yeah.
through business licensing, that would be one way that the municipality could either control or disallow if they wanted to. I would be in favor of one, but, because why not? But how do they control if somebody, as of July 1st next year, wants to open up a shop to sell marijuana
Yeah.
legally?
Well, I'm
right?
surprised we don't have one already. I mean, every small
Yes.
community
Yeah.
in British Columbia, we talk
How
about
does
You
it
could never
dispensary.
make a living.
Because everybody has their own.
Right.
There's
Nobody
Fair
sells
enough.
whiskey in a place where everyone makes moonshine.
Fair enough. Anyways, I don't wanna take us off track, but it would
Perhaps
be,
that's
yeah.
it, because I'm thinking, you know, economic development, isn't that an obvious one for Bowen Island? But-
Yeah, that's what I thought too, but.
Maybe even just for the tourists.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
Come to Bowen and
Yeah,
have
I mean,
Bowen
I
Girl
think-
and-
I
a
think-
relaxed weekend.
Okay.
Get rid of the cabbage.
Get the branding on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next year.
Tell your
next
friends
year.
it's growing here.
Yeah.
Yeah, leaves, yeah.
Don't forget the
Yeah.
leaves.
Grown and doesn't leave.
Okay, before we consider the massage licensing.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Well, tattoos again require health inspections
Yeah.
in the two that had them that I spoke with. So we have a tattoo place, right?
Do
We
it.
do.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, Kelly's
Yeah.
place, yeah.
But again, there should be some health regulations to
Yeah.
maybe,
Wanna
I
keep
don't
our
know.
daughters out.
Oh, sorry, I think you
No.
say something. But nothing is done like that, right? They operate how they want to operate on the line. Nobody's.
yeah.
No, we can't. We have no, I mean,
Yeah, we
other
don't.
than bylaw violations.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we also discussed, and I'm not sure, because I think Maureen had a contact and she was gonna look into it, was health and safety regulations are done by Vancouver Coastal Health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we had loosely kind of drafted a question for them, which was, you know, would they be in favor of Bowen having business licensing, and would they see that as a plus or a minus, you know, in terms of their business, what they do? I'm not sure if we got a response on that, or if that's been posed or not, but I was interested in that in particular because we talk a lot about the primary reason for business licensing to be, you know, public health and safety and municipalities' role in helping to facilitate that. Then, because there's other ways to do, you know, like we talked about, business registry and all that kind of stuff to list the businesses on Bowen and that sort of thing. So, fire, that's, you know, very interesting about fire, but we also, I think it's fire and coastal health are really the two big ones that would be already potentially inspecting every business that might be registered.
Okay.
Sorry, just one other quick thing on it. Again, each community was different, but some were in gathering where there was a new business. One of them, I probably shouldn't talk about who did what, but one of them had a connection with the post office. So if there was a business or a B&B that wanted a post office box, they would call the municipality to make sure that they had a license. Or they had their garbage collectors if somebody started putting out a second bin, or
wow, so
they
like
would
really
check
big-
to see if they were registered.
Right.
And if they weren't registered, then they had a license. Anyway, but
So a lot of people run their businesses on this, right?
yeah,
Okay. Internet access, there's nothing to report, I don't think, officially, but.
Didn't
Well,
you see something in
Shaw.
the paper about
Oh,
Shaw
yeah,
burying
lots of
fiber
news,
optic
but nothing
cable?
to
Nothing
officially
official.
report.
Yeah.
But unofficially, it's going to happen, apparently, which is great.
yes,
Could be a big deal.
yeah.
Why is it so secret? It just.
Well, because formally, some of our committee member who's been doing it has access to proprietary information, so formally we can't talk about it, but
Now it's in the newspapers.
yeah, it's like one of those you can neither confirm nor deny from this table, but just read the end.
It's interesting because that could be a way in which you could attract technology businesses here, which could be a
Absolutely.
big deal.
It's always been one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure. basic infrastructure.
Important.
And at some point, perhaps we should have set aside more time for discussion about that.
Yeah.
How could we use this? It's really definitely going to happen and when it's going to happen. To talk about how can we encourage, or do we want to encourage high-tech businesses to have satellite offices here or whatever?
Do we, and how do we do that?
Yeah, do we, and how do we do it if we do?
Conversation.
It's interesting because it brings into the whole question of, what's the economy about here? Is it about tourism? Is it about construction? Is it about internet? Based businesses?
Yeah, there's, because in the proposal for the Triangle Lot, I think one
Yeah.
of the people interested in doing it is proposing like a co-working space,
Yeah.
which would be really interesting and obviously would be much more popular if we had really good internet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting thing as to whether, how we encourage that. Yeah.
And updates from council, anything? We don't have more anything,
A lot of zoning applications at this council
Yeah.
meeting. It's not here.
so. Province, we don't have anything here.
No.
Tourism Bowen Island, we don't have anybody from Tourism Bowen Island, but I think we can roll that into talk about the work plan. Cultural master plan.
I think there's any report that's on us,
Okay. Staff?
I don't have anything to report except that I went to a conference on community planning last
Cool.
week in Kelowna, 6 days, 16 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
16 hours a day.
It was intense,
Wow.
and there were like assignments were due, and I like to spend a lot of time on my
Of
assignments,
course.
so that was really intense having to just, do all the learning and then go back to your room and hanging out, and there's a lot of pressure to drink wine as well, which I'm like, and then come to the hospitality suite, and like, we have a paper due in 2 hours, I'm not going. But it was amazing, really historical picture of planning, and then some very specifics with the OCP and zoning and affordable housing solutions. Amazing people in Kelowna and Victoria and a lot of small communities around British Columbia. I was with Sophie, the communications coordinator, and will be the interim deputy corporate officer for the year when Hope is away, and Kathy. So this is my third course, and it's the first one I've done with Kathy. So it's one thing for me to be making notes, but when I get excited about something, and then I look over and she's making notes, we might see some really positive changes around here on that,
Cool, great.
That's what I have.
The EDC work plan. So we met on the September the 19th. I think some of you were there. Rod, you were there?
Yep.
And I think you were there, Rod. And we got quite a lot of ideas down on paper, which Chris wrote up in a document.
Read it savagely.
No, I didn't.
What?
I think what I commented on, I think there was, I think we all left feeling quite energized by it, and we also, when we sobered up, we also wondered how the hell are we going to do all this, because
Yeah, page 59 is the document.
Right.
Is that the document?
Yep, page 59, yep.
Page 59.
Page 59,
Because there's a whole chunk of pages missing.
where are you looking?
Page 59 of 70.
It jumps from
There it is,
11
there it
to
is.
58.
Yeah.
There it is.
That was the original note that
Yep.
Chris put up.
Right.
Yep.
Oh,
There were other comments, but I think Chris invited everyone to comment, but I think I was the only one to comment.
I did read it.
I
I
read
didn't
it as well.
get around to actually
Yeah.
writing comments, but I do have
I
thoughts.
think the challenge is
Sorry, that's not enough for
the challenge is fleshing out some of these things. For instance, what could be our role in housing? What could be our role in tourism? And then how do we actually get it done? Because we're all volunteers. We have a pretty limited amount of time. I think one of the other issues that's sort of looking out there is, if you're not actively participating in this committee, should you be on the committee, and how do we get people who are actually going to work on it? But even if we had a very active group, I think would be challenged to do a heck of a lot on this. And so, how do we move forward on some of these things? And coincidentally, Murray from Tourism Bowen Island gave us a proposal to have a joint Tourism Bowen Island economic development person. I put a proposal to council that they should hire somebody to manage
They
this.
proposed to council, they met.
No,
they-
Murray
There.
proposed to us.
We proposed to
Oh, okay.
That we proposed to council. Murray's proposal's been out on the table, it's not new, probably we've been saying this for a number of years, I believe.
And we said it too.
Yeah, but you know, maybe the time is right for us to look at it more carefully. Maureen, I had chatted with Maureen this morning, and she, you know, thought it could have some chance if we made a good case and had a good tight job description, and you know, funding could be, well, it could come partly from our budget from this year, partly from our budget from next year, maybe a contribution from Tourism Bowen Island, and then if the business licensing kicks in, it could be funded partly from that if they would have the responsibility of the licensing. So there's a possible way of funding it, and she thought that, you know, a number of people on council will be supportive. Chris and I were chatting about it the other day, and we feel that it should be very much a community economic development person, the skills that we wanted. I don't think there's a taste for massively ramping up tourism in an undiscriminate way. I think so there'd have to be some work done on creating alignment with Tourism Bowen Island and creating a job description that we were happy with and they were happy with. And then the person we have to convince is Kathy, because she's essentially, you know, council employs people. She does all the employment of people. So that's the situation. I think according to Maureen, the idea that tourism businesses here would pay a tax is kind of a non-starter, because we're not a resort municipality. Most of the tourism businesses have 1 or 2 bedrooms. It's not really, that might require legislative changes to allow that at a provincial level. That's what we're not going to do.
Well, actually, an interesting point that I was at a different meeting where this came up with Kathy Lalonde, and I
Yeah.
think she was going to look into what we as a municipality had the right to do, because somebody mentioned in that meeting Airbnb, for example, can build in a tax, and then
Yeah.
that gets paid straight to the municipality.
It's called there's a tax code, I was just looking at in our last conversation,
Okay.
municipal and regional district taxes.
Yeah.
So you can levy a tax that's like 2 or 3%, and
Yeah.
it can be added on to hospitality. There's a whole set of regulations and guidelines, so.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a resort municipality?
Yeah, it's just, you have to, there's a process of going through, you have to check with the regional district and so on and so forth. But I do think,
Is that document?
And it stays in the community?
yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
go?
it's municipal.
Yeah.
It gets paid directly to the
To
municipality, from my
municipalities,
understanding, yeah.
okay.
So the province gives municipalities the right to levy that kind of tax, so we can be
Yeah.
able to, you know, I just was looking, in our last conversation, was looking at the actual regs, so this is just basically new to me, but I think there are options anyway.
Yeah.
But between the business licensing, Tourism Bowen Island contributions, the kind of budget that we've been putting aside and not using for the EDC, I mean, I think that there's an argument to make that having a community economic development officer, and the language is very clear, like a community economic development officer in place, would just accelerate a whole bunch of interesting stuff, including, there's a lot of possibilities that can happen there.
Well, it sounds to me like with the existing sort of budget sources you're talking about, and then opting towards like a 18-month or a 2-year initial term,
Right.
probably would be
Yeah.
make sense.
Before we go there, actually, and I hear what you're saying, Chris, but can you be detailed, what exactly would this person do? I do not have a strong sense of what this role would and why we need this role. Can you build that case of support for me? Because I'm not seeing it right now.
Well, I mean, when we talked about it at our planning, you know, we came at it from one angle and John can talk about it from what Murray's piece, but there's, when we talk about expanding the shoulder season, so we've had concepts like Villages of Venue and other things that have been on the roll. We've got a branding initiative that is in a way like disconnected from some of the other stuff that goes on. So building community economic development infrastructure to be able to do stuff like extending the shoulder seasons, supporting enterprise development. So we were talking about incubators before, right? So we're talking about making those kinds of things happen. So for example, if we go to creating a shared working space on the lot one, what's it called? The triangle lot. We go to creating a shared working space. There could be a role that the municipality plays in helping that to happen. And you know, there's a lot of work that gets undone. There's a lot of ideas that get generated here, but work that doesn't get done. Helping strategically manage local economic opportunities. So when it comes to the kind of confronted with the tide of tourism that we've had and being able to value add to that. And for me, that's like, that could easily connect with, you know, we've had these ideas of like the Island of Walks, or we've had the arts, you know, kind of connection with arts and stuff that could be, I think, cinched together a lot tighter if we had somebody working on a community economic development strategy that knit together these pieces of our community to enhance that tourism experience, right? That was more than just people coming over for the day, walking around the lake and going home and draining everything.
So they develop a strategy?
Yeah, I
That
think,
would be
yeah,
what
to
the
develop
job
it,
they would do
absolutely.
with strategy, so I'm looking
Absolutely.
at, I mean, I'm actually talking about deliverables, so
And
that
managing the business
strategy would
license program.
include objectives, goals, timeline, what, you
Yeah,
know, actions
yeah.
to be taken, and goals. And so who would they answer to?
They would answer to council.
Council.
It would be-
So
it would
who
be-
would define, so they would come up, I guess, in support, we would, as this committee would support their work as in terms of developing strategic planning, or
Yeah.
is that, do you see that?
I think there's no economic development plan, so I think the first thing would be to sort of work on developing an economic development plan, which would involve